Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's Brain Spark podcast. I'm Dr. Scott Haggerty, and in today's episode, we are diving into a super important and often overlooked topic, the hidden health risks of common household cleaning products, things that we just see every day. As a parent and health professional, I understand the desire for a sparkling, clean, germ-free home. But did you know that the very products keeping our homes clean can sometimes and in massive ways harm our children's health? In fact, research shows that indoor air can be 2 to 5 times more polluted than outdoor air, largely due to chemicals released by cleaners that we are using every day. This episode isn't about scaring anyone, it's about empowering you with knowledge. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to speak to you with authority about this because I want you to understand from an expert's perspective. But by the end, what I want you to understand is which chemicals watch out for, how they affect kids, and practical steps to keep your family safe. Let's protect our children by learning what's really in our cleaning cabinets. So many conventional cleaning supplies contain harsh chemicals that can pose serious health risks for our kids. Even products labeled green or natural may hide problematic ingredients. We'll explore some of the top offenders, things like 1,4-dioxane, perchloroethylene, which is also commonly known as PCE, bleach, ammonia, phthalates, quaternary ammonium products, which are also oftentimes called quats, and synthetic fragrances. Each of these can affect children's health from triggering asthma to increasing long-term cancer risk. So let's unpack them one by one using verified facts and figures from credible sources such as the EPA, CDC, and peer-reviewed studies. So let's talk first about 1,4-dioxane. It's the hidden carcinogen in many detergents. 1,4-dioxane is a chemical you won't see on a label, and it's not added on purpose, but rather a contaminant formed during manufacturing of detergents, soaps, and shampoos. The US EPA classifies 1,4-dioxane as likely to be carcinogenic in humans. In one analysis, 65 out of 80 household products tested contained 1,4-dioxane, including common laundry detergents, shampoos, body washes, and even baby products. And if you're looking for more info on that, sproutsanfrancisco.com is a great place to go and do some research on this. That means families could be unknowingly exposed to a substance linked to cancer every time they wash dishes or clothes. Children with their developing bodies are especially vulnerable to carcinogens. Over time, regular low-dose exposure during critical growth periods might contribute to increased cancer risk later on in life. To put in perspective, imagine bathing a baby in water that contains traces of carcinogen. It's a disturbing thought, of course. Unfortunately, 1,4-dioxane is so common that it has even been detected in some products marketed for babies. Now, the good news is that some states are taking notice. For example, New York passed regulations to limit 1,4-dioxane in cleaning and personal care products, pushing companies to begin to reformulate. As parents, we can't identify 1,4-dioxane on labels because it's hidden, but we can choose brands that explicitly say they are 1,4-dioxane free or avoid ingredients like PEG or F compounds, which can produce 1,4-dioxane during processing. We'll discuss safer alternatives, especially later on in this episode. Let's move next into perchloroethylene or PCE, which is it's commonly used in dry cleaning products and fumes at home. So PCE or perchloroethylene is a powerful solvent used in dry cleaning and some heavy-duty cleaners or degreasers. It is a potent toxin. The EPA has determined it can cause cancer in multiple organs and damage the nervous and immune system in anybody that's exposed to it over time. Specifically, PCE exposure is linked to liver, kidney, brain, and testicular cancers, as well as neurotoxicity and reproductive harm. How might children come into contact with PCE? One common route is dry clean clothes. If you bring freshly dry cleaned outfits into your home, they can off-gas PCE into the air. Young kids might inhale these vapors or even touch the fabrics and absorb residues through their skin. PCE can also be found in some spot removers, carpet cleaners, or wood floor sealants, especially older products that may not have had these removed. The risk is not just theoretical. Regulators have finally taken action. In late 2024, the EPA announced a phase out of many uses of PCE because it is simply unacceptable to continue to allow cancer-causing chemicals like this in cleaners. Dry cleaners are being required to transition away from PCE and consumer uses are being curtailed. Thank God. This is a major win for public health, but the phase out will take time, potentially up to as much as 10 years for the dry cleaning industry. In the meantime, awareness is going to be key. If you must dry clean clothes, air them out outdoors or in a well-ventilated area before bringing them into closets or near children's bedrooms. Better yet, seek out wet cleaning or CO2 cleaning services that don't use PCE. For household cleaning, read labels carefully and avoid using products that smell like strong solvents or list ingredients such as perchloroethylene or tetrachloroethylene. Your child's developing brain and organs will absolutely thank you, since even tiny concentrations of these chemicals can pose risks over time. Let's move next into things like bleach and ammonia. Chlorine bleach, also known as sodium hypochlorite, and ammonia are common in many households. Bleach in disinfectants and laundry whiteners, ammonia in glass cleaners, and multi-surface sprays. These chemicals do kill germs and remove stains, but they come with a cost. They're strong, acute respiratory irritants. If you've ever felt your eyes water or throat burn while using bleach, you've experienced their harsh effects. Imagine what those fumes do to a small child with tiny, sensitive airways. Bleach and ammonia are especially dangerous when mixed. Never, ever, under any circumstances, mix bleach with ammonia or any acidic cleaner, like vinegar or toilet bowl cleaner. This creates chloramine gas, a toxic fume that can cause coughing, wheezing, chest pain, and even death in high concentrations. Sadly, accidental mixings have happened, and children in the home are at high risk of inhaling these vapors. The American Lung Association warns that such combinations can lead to chronic breathing problems or other severe lung issues. Even used separately, these cleaners can affect kids. Bleach, in particular, has been linked often to respiratory problems in children. A European study of over 9,000 school-age kids found that those in homes where bleach was regularly used had much higher rates of respiratory infections. For example, 20% more flu cases and 35% more recurrent tonsillitis than kids in bleach-free homes. The researchers concluded that passive exposure to bleach at home may increase the risk of respiratory and other infections in children, which obviously this is a big issue. This might sound counterintuitive. We use bleach to kill germs, so why would infections go up? One theory is that bleach's irritant properties may damage delicate linings of the respiratory tract, making children far more susceptible to viruses and bacteria. It's a reminder that more disinfectant isn't always better, especially for young lungs. Ammonia, on the other hand, is a known strong trigger for asthma. The fumes from ammonia-based cleaners can quickly irritate the eyes and the airways. Children with asthma or allergies might start coughing or wheezing if they're around a freshly ammonia-cleaned room. Even children without asthma can develop reactive airway symptoms when breathing ammonia vapors. And remember, kids breathe faster and tend to be closer to the floor where vapors will concentrate. Children are far more vulnerable to airborne toxins, and especially due to their higher intake of air because of the respiratory rate at which they breathe and relative body weight, so things concentrate quickly in their bloodstream. So what's the alternative? Well, you don't need chlorine, bleach, or ammonia to have a clean home. What we'll do later on is we'll discuss safer substitutes like hydrogen peroxide-based disinfectants, which kill germs without producing toxic fumes. For most routine cleanings, simple soap or mild detergents can do the job without the hazards. Keep in mind that a clean smell is not as important as a safe environment. A whiff of bleach is not a badge of honor in your home if it's putting your child's health at risk. Next, we're going to step into phthalates. And these are a group of chemicals that are used to make plastics flexible and hold scents in products. You won't see phthalates on cleaning product labels often, but they are used lurking under the term fragrance. And you see this a lot on labels. If your counter spray or air freshener has a long-lasting scent, chances are phthalates are present. The problem: phthalates are well-known neuroendocrine, or what we call hormone disruptors, meaning they can interfere with the hormonal systems that regulate growth, development, and metabolism in our kids. Research has strongly linked phthalate exposure to a variety of health issues. Some phthalates have been associated with things like reproductive harm, allergies, and increased cancer risk. Critically for parents, studies suggest that phthalates can impair child brain development and increase risks for learning, attention, and behavioral disorders. For example, a landmark study that was done by Columbia University found that children born to mothers with high prenatal phthalate exposure, specifically two common phthalates, had a 72% and 78% higher risk of developing asthma by age 5 to 11 compared to those with lower exposure. Asthma isn't the only concern. Other research indicates prenatal phthalate exposure may be linked to lower IQ and developmental delays, highlighting potential neurodevelopmental disruption as well. Where are these phthalates coming from in our homes? Well, synthetic fragrances are a major source. Phthalates help scents to stick to surfaces and linger in the air. They're found in scented cleaners, laundry detergents, fabric softeners, air fresheners, and even scented trash bags. The kicker is that manufacturers rarely, if ever, disclose them, especially here in the US. Manufacturers can hide dozens of chemicals under the single word fragrance on labels. So, huge issue. In fact, that one term can represent a cocktail of nearly 4,000 possible ingredients, including phthalates and other harmful compounds. This lack of transparency is a regulatory loophole, but as consumers and parents, it means that we have to be proactive. So if you see fragrance or parfum on a product label, or understand it's a mystery mix of chemicals. So what I would recommend is opt for fragrance-free products whenever possible, or those scented only with natural essential oils, and even those should be used cautiously around sensitive kids. By reducing synthetic fragrances in your cleaning routine, you're likely cutting out a significant source of phthalate exposure and protecting your kids' hormones and respiratory health. So next, let's move into a category called quats, what are also known as quaternary ammonia compounds. And these are a class of chemicals widely used in disinfectant sprays, wipes, and antibacterial cleaners. If a label says kills 99.9% of germs, there's a really good chance they have a quat, like benzyl ammonium chloride or alkyl dimethyl benzyl ammonium chloride as the active ingredients. While they are effective germ killers, quats come with serious side effects for health. Scientists have found that quats can disrupt cellular processes and may affect fertility and development. In animal studies, exposure to certain quats caused developmental and reproductive problems in mice. Equally concerning, quats are respiratory irritants and have been strongly linked to asthma in occupational settings. Think about what happens when you spray a disinfectant on a countertop. Tiny droplets of quats float in the air. If a child is nearby or comes into the room soon after, they can inhale these droplets. Over time, this might trigger asthma symptoms or even cause new onset asthma. In a previous, as has been shown in a previously healthy child through studies done through Children's Mercy. The American Academy of Pediatrics has been so concerned about this that in guidance for schools, it specifically states disinfectants such as bleach and those containing quaternary ammonium compounds should not be used when children are present because these are known respiratory irritants. In other words, if kids are around, put the Clorox and the aerosol disinfectants away. During the COVID-19 pandemic, use of quats skyrocketed as people disinfected surfaces constantly. Ironically, excessive use of these chemicals may have created a different set of health problems for children. Daycares and schools that routinely spray down toys and desks with quats inadvertently increased early life chemical exposures. One study found elevated levels of quats in daycare and dust, indicating toddlers were getting a daily dose of these substances. Remember, toddlers often put their hands in their mouths and are in close contact with floors and surfaces, making them highly susceptible to whatever residues we leave behind. It is worth noting that quats aren't the only way to disinfect. Safer alternatives definitely exist, as we mentioned earlier, things like peroxide, ethanol, or simply soap and water in most cases. We'll discuss those in our action steps later on here in the episode. The take-home message here is routine use of heavy disinfectants can do more harm than good in a home setting, especially for kids. Unless you're dealing with a high-risk situation like a known illness or immunocompromised household member, you likely don't need to douse your home in strong chemicals daily. Clean regularly with milder methods and save the big guns for truly necessary occasion. That way, you reduce the chemical load on your child's growing body and their lungs. So we touched on fragrances when discussing phthalates, but let's delve a bit deeper. Synthetic fragrances are found in everything from all-purpose cleaners and laundry products to floor polishes and air fresheners. We often associate a clean home with a pleasant scent, lemon, pine, floral, etc. However, that fresh scent is often a sign of chemical compounds in the air, some of which can be quite hazardous. According to the American Lung Association, even natural citrus fragrances can react in our homes to form dangerous pollutants like formaldehyde. So imagine what the dozens of lab-made chemicals in a synthetic fragrance can do. And what's in these fragrances? Aside from phthalates, common components include things like terpenes, like one called limonene, benzene derivatives, synthetic musks, and solvent carriers. When these chemicals evaporate into the air, they become part of the indoor air pollutant mix of VOCs, also known as volatile organic compounds. A recent peer-reviewed study tested 30 cleaning products, both conventional and green, and found they emitted a total of 530 distinct VOC chemicals. Of those, 193 were classified as hazardous, capable of causing respiratory damage, cancer risk, or developmental issues. Many of these VOCs come from fragrances that are added to the products. Some products kept releasing VOCs for days or even months after use. This means that the lemony smell in your kitchen isn't just a harmless aroma, it's a chemical cloud that your family is continuously breathing. Children, especially those with asthma or allergies, can be very sensitive to fragrance chemicals. Fragrances are a top cause of allergic reactions and can trigger asthma attacks. You might notice your child sneezes or gets a runny nose when you spray on an air freshener, or perhaps they develop a rash after sleeping on sheets washed in strongly scented detergent. These are red flags that the fragrance chemicals are affecting them. Some fragrance ingredients have even been linked to hormone disruption and immune effects, though, again, manufacturers aren't required to list them individually, which is just terrible in my opinion. The simplest solution is go fragrance free whenever you can. There are plenty of unscented or naturally scented cleaning products on the market now. And if you miss a scent, you can use a truly natural method to add a pleasant smell, like simmering a bit of lemon and herbs on the stove for a kitchen scent, or using essential oils. I would also say do this cautiously and in a ventilated area as well. But don't fall for perfuming your house with sprays or plugins. The American Lung Association recommends avoiding air fresheners altogether. A clean home shouldn't smell like anything in particular. Clean has no smell, and that is honestly a good thing. So we've covered the individual chemicals, so let's zoom out to the bigger picture of children's health. Why are kids more at risk, and what kind of health issues are we talking about? Children are not just small adults. Their bodies are growing and changing rapidly. They breathe more air per pound of body weight, drink more water, and have higher metabolisms than adults. Also, kids spend a lot of time on the floor, crawling, playing, putting their hands in their mouths. This means they have greater exposure to any toxins on surfaces or in dust. For instance, if you mop the floor with a cleaner that leaves residue, a baby crawling there will get that residue on their skin and possibly ingest it. If you spray a room with air freshener, a child will inhale relatively more of it and possibly have less ability to detoxify it, since a child's liver and immune system are still immature. This becomes a big issue because the liver is the only detox pathway. One striking study out of Canada found that infants in homes where cleaning products were used frequently were far more likely to develop respiratory issues. By age 3, the rate of wheezing among those children was 11% in higher, excuse me. By age 3, the rate of wheezing among those children was 11% in high cleaner use homes versus 8% in low use homes. And asthma rates were 8% versus 5%. In plain terms, babies brought up in environments with lots of cleaning product fumes had a 30 to 60% higher chance of wheezing or asthma by toddlerhood. That's crazy. The effect was strongest for homes that used a lot of scented and spray cleaners. So if this is where you are, take this into strong consideration. These findings echo other research from Europe showing links between prenatal or infant exposure to cleaners and persistent respiratory problems. Beyond asthma and allergies, there are concerns about long-term chronic effects. Chemicals like 1,4-dioxane and PCE pose cancer risks. That might not materialize until decades later. Early life exposure to carcinogens is particularly critical because growing tissues can accumulate damage that leads to cancer in adulthood. For example, childhood exposure to solvents like PCE has been associated with higher risks of certain cancers and neurological issues later on in life. Similarly, endocrine disruptors like phthalates may not cause immediate symptoms, but they may contribute to issues like early puberty, learning disorders, or fertility problems years down the line. There's also the concept of immune system effects. Some cleaning chemicals, notably certain disinfectants and preservatives, might alter the microbiome or subtly suppress immune function. For instance, the class of chemicals called PFAs used in some stain-resistant sprays and not these are obviously not our main focus today, are known to cause immune suppression and reduce vaccine or other drug responses when they're needed. While we haven't focused on PFAs, it's a reminder that many household chemicals can have unintended impacts on a child's immune system, potentially making them more prone to illness. So, guys, in summary, the health impacts on children from these cleaning chemicals include respiratory issues, things like irritation, increased asthma and wheezing, allergic reactions like skin rashes, eye irritation, and headaches, immune effects, possibly more frequent infections or reduced ability to fight viruses, endocrine and hormonal disruption, which can affect growth, puberty, and developmental milestones, neurodevelopmental risks, which with potential links to lower IQ, attention deficits, or behavioral issues from chronic exposure to things like phthalates, and cancer risk. And this is a long-term risk from carcinogenic contaminants like 1,4-dioxane and solvents like PCE. It's a sobering list. But the point of listing these isn't to overwhelm you with fear. It's to motivate you through informed choices. These outcomes are preventable. By reducing and eliminating certain chemical exposures, we can meaningfully improve our children's health prospects. Now, at this point, you might be wondering, if these chemicals are so bad, why are they in products at all? Well, that is an excellent question and leads us into a brief look at U.S. chemical safety regulations, or the lack of them thereof. Unfortunately, the system meant to protect consumers has massive gaps and loopholes that allow many hazardous substances to end up in everyday products. In the United States, the regulatory approach to chemicals has long been described as innocent until proven guilty. In other words, chemicals are typically presumed safe until evidence of harm is overwhelming. Agencies like the EPA or FDA often react to problems rather than proactively ensuring safety from the start. For example, the Toxic Substances Control Act, TSCA, has over 86,000 chemicals listed that companies can use, but the vast majority have never been fully tested for health effects. Only about 1.8% of those chemicals has any published health data. That means we're essentially living in a giant chemistry experiment with our families as the subjects. When it comes to cleaning products, specifically, one big issue is labeling or lack thereof. Manufacturers are not obligated by US law to list all ingredients in household cleaning products. Unlike food or cosmetics, cleaners can be sold without full disclosure of what's inside. Companies often hide behind trade secrets, as mentioned. The term fragrance can mask a lot of chemicals, and trade secret law allows this. There's also the proprietary formula excuse for not listing potentially toxic additives. Until recently, you had almost no way of knowing if a cleaner contained, say, phthalates or 1,4-dioxane. California has passed a Cleaning Product Right to Know Act, which was effective in 2020, requiring disclosure of many ingredients, which is a step forward, but on the national level, we're still way behind. Another major gap is safety testing. There's no requirement that cleaning chemicals be tested for chronic health effects like asthma induction or endocrine disruption before being put on store shelves. Our chemical might get flagged if it's immediately dangerous, like causing burns or poisoning, hence we see labels for corrosive products. But for subtle long-term effects, the system tends to wait until a pattern of harm emerges in the population, which can take years or decades. Dr. Michael Bloom, a public health expert, noted that our model treats chemicals as innocent until proven guilty, which often delays protections. In contrast, the EU's approach under their REACH regulation is more guilty until proven innocent, requiring companies to prove safety in many cases before use. That's why Europe has banned or restricted certain chemicals like specific phthalates, formaldehyde, certain quats that are still permitted in US products. Loopholes in industry influence also play a huge role. Companies have been known to fight transparency and regulation, sometimes downplaying or concealing risks. We've seen it historically with lead, asbestos, and now with chemicals like PFAs and flame retardants. The good news is that public awareness is pushing change. Surveys show that about 70% of Americans believe chemicals and products should be more regulated. There are increasing calls for right-to-know laws so consumers can make informed choices. But honestly, until stronger regulations are in place, the reality is we as parents must serve as our own regulators and advocates. This means staying informed, as you're doing now, reading labels for any clues we can get, like avoiding that generic fragrance or looking for hazard warnings, and supporting companies that fully disclose ingredients and prioritize safety. It's not fair. It shouldn't be this hard to figure out what's safe for our kids, but this is the landscape that we're navigating. Later, I'll mention some resources that help decode product ingredients and point to safer choices. So, just to recap, the US regulatory system has holes that allow questionable chemicals in cleaning products because of presumed safety until proven harmful, lack of required testing, trade secret protections for ingredient lists, and a slow reaction to new scientific evidence. Understanding this helps explain why products with known issues like 1,4-dioxane contamination or asthma-triggering fragrance mixes can still be widely sold. It highlights why it's so important for consumers to stay educated, and we must demand safer products. The power of your wallet and voice can push the market into a healthier direction long before laws catch up, and I would strongly advocate that you do this. Now, for the part that empowers you, what can parents do to reduce these exposures and protect children's health? It might feel overwhelming to revamp your entire cleaning routine, but even small, practical, science-based steps you can take starting today are going to be laid out right here. You don't have to change everything at once. Pick a couple of these tips to start, and gradually you can transform your home into a healthier environment. So let's break it down. 1. Audit your cleaning cabinet. Take a look at the products you currently use. Check labels for words like sodium hypochlorite, which is bleach, ammonia, fragrance, quaternary ammonium, perchloroethylene, or hazard symbols like corrosive and flammable. These are red flags. If a product has a strong chemical odor that makes you cough or your eyes water, that's a strong clue too. Consider phasing out products with these ingredients. You don't necessarily need 10 different cleaners. Simplifying your arsenal can reduce overall chemical load by a lot. For example, you might decide to stop using a certain spray air freshener or a bleach-based bathroom cleaner after this audit. Swap in safer products. For each toxic item you remove, replace it with a safer alternative. Look for products that are fragrance-free, dye-free, and labeled as non-toxic or green. But remember, greenwashing is real. Terms like natural or eco-friendly aren't regulated and can be slapped on nearly anything. A better bet is to seek out certifications. EPA Safer Choice label is one trustworthy indicator. The EPA Safer Choice program only certifies products with safer chemical ingredients in them. Also, the EWG or Environmental Working Group verified mark or high scores in their Guide to Healthy Cleaning database can guide you to products with low health concerns. Some examples of companies known for safer cleaning lines include Melaleuca's EcoSense, 7th Generation, Method, Branch Basics, and Ecos, among others. These brands often use plant-based ingredients and avoid the big hazards: no chlorine bleach, ammonia, or phthalates. When in doubt, a quick bit of research online or using apps like EWG's Healthy Living can tell you if a product is truly safe. You can also check if a product is listed on the EPA Safer Choice database online. Embrace DIY cleaning recipes. You can save money and reduce toxins by making some cleaners yourself. Simple pantry ingredients can handle most household chores. For example, if you need like an all-purpose cleaner, mix equal parts white vinegar and water in a spray bottle. It's great for countertops, glass, and floors, and you can add a few drops of essential oil for scent if desired, like lavender or tea tree. But that's optional, and avoid if anyone is sensitive to these. Baking soda paste. Baking soda and a bit of water makes a mild abrasive paste to scrub sinks, tubs, and stuck-on grime. It deodorizes and cleans without any fumes or irritants. There's a thing called Castile soap solution. It's a tablespoon of liquid Castile soap, which is an olive oil-based soap, in a quart of water, and it's a gentle cleaner for pretty much any surface or even hand-washing dishes. You can use hydrogen peroxide. 3%, the stuff that's in the brown bottle, is a fantastic mildew remover and disinfectant. You can use it in a spray for cutting boards, bathrooms, or anywhere you need to sanitize. Just spot test that it doesn't bleach colored surfaces. You can use lemon and vinegar, and it can clean glass if you mix 2 tablespoons of vinegar with 2 cups of water and a dash of lemon juice for a streak-free window and mirror cleaner. These DIY solutions have 2 big advantages. Number one, they're really cheap, and you know exactly what's in them. There's no mystery chemicals, just time-tested household substances. Plus, they often work just as well as commercial cleaners for routine jobs. One caution: avoid mixing vinegar and Castile soap directly. They can react and reduce effectiveness. And never mix vinegar with bleach ever. So, another thing to think about too is improve ventilation during cleaning. When you do use any cleaning products, even the safer ones, make sure there's good airflow. Open windows and doors, turn on exhaust fans. This helps dissipate any vapors quickly. If possible, please keep children out of the room while you clean for a little while afterwards. Their lungs won't be exposed to even the mild chemicals or any stirred up dust. Also, avoid spraying products in the air. Instead, spray onto a cloth or a sponge, close to the target or right directly on the surface. This greatly reduces how much gets into the air and also how much your kids are going to breathe in. Next, practice safe cleaning habits. Sometimes it's not just what you use, but it's how we use it. So here's a few tips. Number one, never mix chemicals. I know we said it before, but it bears repeating, especially bleach with ammonia or vinegar. It is a deadly combo. Let me restate that. Bleach with ammonia or vinegar is deadly. Also, avoid mixing different drain cleaners or cleaning products. Dangerous, non-expected chemical reactions can and will occur. Wear gloves and even a mask. If using anything with strong fumes, your kids might not be cleaning, but if they're around, you're protecting yourself, helps you keep the whole environment cleaner. So if you're using it, you got to cover up, you got to protect your skin. This stuff can leach in, and it can also cause significant harm to your lungs when you're using them. Also, store cleaning products securely out of reach of children. Over 300 children in the US visit emergency rooms each day due to poisoning from household cleaners. Use of childproof latches and keep products up high whenever you have them in your home. This is more about acute safety than chronic exposure, but it's an important part of a healthy home. Also, use less and use rarely. Don't overdo it. Disinfect only when necessary, like after raw meat on a countertop or if someone is sick. But you don't need to bleach the floors every day or spray air freshener every morning. Regular soap and water cleaning is more than enough routine maintenance. With disinfectants reserved for occasional higher risk situations like super dangerous infections that have broken out. Remember, a little goes a long way. Follow dilution instructions, and more is definitely not better. Next, choose fragrance-free, dye-free. When shopping, look specifically for fragrance-free versions of products. Many companies now offer unscented dish soaps, laundry detergents. Fragrance-free means that they didn't add any masking scents or perfumes, though do check that they didn't just add a different masking chemical. This one step can eliminate a whole swath of hazardous exposure, as we discussed with phthalates and VOCs. Similarly, avoid cleaners with artificial dyes. The blue toilet bowl water or neon colored sprays, those dyes don't help clean. They just introduce more chemicals, and some dyes are extreme skin allergens. The simpler the ingredient list, the better. Also, adopt a shoes off policy and dust control. This might not be an obvious cleaning tip, but reducing overall household dust and dirt can lessen the need for harsh cleaning. A lot of toxins actually hitchhike into our homes on dust particles. By having family and guests leave shoes at the door, you prevent tracking in things like pesticides, heavy metals, or outdoor pollutants that then settle in your dust. Also, dust regularly with a damp cloth or a microfiber cloth, which can capture particles without chemical sprays. Vacuum with a HEPA filter if possible. This keeps your home environment cleaner naturally, so you won't feel the need to reach for all the air fresheners or strong cleaners as often. Plus, less dust means easier breathing for everyone, especially kids with asthma. Next, consider safe brands and refills. Some parents find it helpful to stick with a trusted safe brand for most products. For instance, the Melaleuca brand, known for its EcoSense cleaning line, is one of many family use for non-toxic cleaners. They feature plant-based ingredients like thyme oil, citric acid, and enzymes instead of chlorine or quats. And I can tell you this is what we've been using for like 15 years. The stuff is amazing. Other reputable brands include Attitude, BioClean, Cleanwell, and Aunt Fanny's. These companies are often transparent about ingredients and have a philosophy of safety. If you find a brand you trust, you can simplify shopping by using their range for various needs: kitchen, laundry, etc. Some even offer concentrate refills, which not only save you money but also reduce waste. Just always double check the ingredients because natural brands can have a few surprises too. Look for the ones with external certifications or good ratings from independent organizations. Next, educate and involve your family. Older children can be part of the solution too. Teach them why you're making these changes. For instance, explain that the new cleaning wipes don't have the stinky stuff that can make us cough. This can actually be a science lesson for kids. You can show them how vinegar and baking soda fizz and clean, or how soap cuts grease. When kids understand the why, they're less likely to say sneak an air freshener into their room because they prefer a scent. Instead, they might come to appreciate a truly clean, fresh, unscented space. Additionally, teaching them not to spray or use cleaners on their own until they're old enough is key for safety. It's a family affair to keep a whole family healthy. Also, support stronger regulations and awareness. This final step goes beyond our home. If you feel passionately about these issues, consider lending your voice. Support legislation that calls for ingredient transparency and safer chemicals. Organizations like the Environmental Working Group, Breast Cancer Prevention Partners, and the American Lung Association often have petitions or initiatives to push for cleaning products that are safer in our schools and stores, and also work environments. The more consumers demand change, the more companies and lawmakers will respond. Over 70% of people want stricter regulations on cleaning products, and being a part of that majority voice can eventually lead to industry-wide shifts where all parents, not just those who know to research, can have safer cleaning supplies by default. Guys, I know that's a lot of steps, but remember, you don't have to tackle all of them at once. Maybe this week you switch to a fragrance-free laundry detergent, buy some vinegar and baking soda. Next month, you might try a new green all-purpose cleaner and toss out the old bleach bottle. Each small change strips away a layer of potential harm, and those layers add up to a much healthier home for your family. Science shows that when you remove sources of chemical exposure, the levels in the body begin to drop quickly. For example, studies found that when people switched to phthalate-free products, their urinary phthalate metabolites plummeted within days. Our bodies can cleanse many of these things out if we stop bringing them into our bodies. So you can start fresh with a cleaner slate pretty darn fast once you begin to make these changes. As we wrap up, I want to leave you with a message of hope and empowerment. It is easy to feel anxious after hearing about toxins in everyday products. But the flip side is now you have knowledge, and knowledge is 100% power. We as parents and caregivers have the ability to drastically reduce our children's exposure to these hidden hazards. It doesn't require a huge budget or fancy equipment. It simply takes mindful choices and a willingness to change old habits. Our children depend on us to provide a safe environment for them to grow up in. By choosing safer cleaning alternatives, you are taking a stand to protect their lungs, their developing brains, their hormones, and their immune systems. You're also sending a powerful message to manufacturers that we demand healthy products for our families. Every time you opt for a toxin-free cleaner or mix up your own DIY solution, you vote with your wallet and your actions for a healthier world. I call on you to take action. Sorry, guys. So I'm going to call on you to take action. Start with your own home. Go through those steps one at a time at your own pace and transform your cleaning routine into one that supports your family's well-being. Share this knowledge with friends, babysitters, schools, and daycare providers. Imagine if every classroom and every grandparent's house also made these changes. The ripple effect would be tremendous in reducing childhood exposure to harmful chemicals. Remember, this isn't about achieving some unrealistic perfect purity. It's about making informed, science-based decisions for the sake of our kids. It's about swapping fear for facts and then turning those facts into sensible precautions. We can't control every aspect of the world our children live in, but we can control what we bring into our homes. So let's do it. Let's detoxify our homes and create the healthiest environments that we can for our children. It's simply an act of love and will pay off for years to come in better health and peace of mind. As Dr. Scott Haggerty, I am with you on this journey, and I firmly believe that armed with knowledge and a little effort, every family can enjoy a clean and safe home. Guys, I thank you so much for listening. I know this has been a longer episode. If you found this episode to be helpful, please share it with other parents or caregivers. Together, we can raise awareness and inspire others to join this movement for safer cleaning and healthier kids. Let's be the generation of parents that said no more to hidden household toxins and yes to transparency and health. Until next time, stay well and remember, a truly clean home is a healthy home. Every small change you make is a big win for your child's future. Let's keep our family safe, one stray bottle at a time. Tonight, take a peek under your sink and pick one product to swap out. Your kids will breathe easier because of it. You got this, and we're all in this together for our children's sake. Thank you for being a part of our BrainSpark podcast and growing a healthy families community. God bless each and every one of you. Stay healthy and stay empowered.